test that for me, please? So let me go here. Here. So D3 yes. D3 is data-driven documents, so D3Ds, data-driven documents, and of course it's a library that has been maintained. Think of it as like a bootstrap, like the CDN code that you get. You have similar JavaScript files that you get. And if you want to look at the code, you can literally copy this and look at it online. Specific. Somebody has written all this for you to make your life easy. Okay, good stuff, right? Yeah. And somebody maintains it for you, so you can have beautiful visualizations and really, really good visualizations. Charts, boom, like look at that. And if you wanted to look at the code, you can look at the code for behind this. There's various types of charts that one can build using very interactive also. This one, look at that. See that? Beautiful, right? Anyway, so a lot of sites use it. One of my favorite one is 538. Has anybody heard of 538? It's a sports blogging. Nate Silver's. This guy accurately predicted, I don't know which election he predicted. One of the elections he accurately predicted by every state who is going to win, whether Democrats are going to win that state or Republicans. I think it was one of the elections. And then he accurately predicted to good amount of accuracy on percentage levels of how they're going to win. And his analysis became so popular that people started flowing to his. So he does all this kind of political blogging. That's how he started. And then he launched into sports blogging and has formed this multi-million-dollar company now that has bloggers that go on blogs. So if you go here, like if you go in, the sports visualizations are very powerful. It has become more like a descriptive blogging now. It used to be more like analytical blogging. So everything had analytics to it. He tries to maintain that whole kind of style now, but it has become pretty lame. There are other blogs similar to this that help people. Yeah. For example, like this is a very, very nice visualization where where you can have these estimate predictions and stuff like that. So look at some of his blogs and these charts, very crisp and clean looking, 5-day, how things are trending and stuff like that. So some of his blogs will inspire you for sure. It's not his anymore. He's not the only person. You can see it's trending at some point. Now we started lower than now. Anyway, so that's we're going to learn today how some of this can be done. But it's again going through the basics first. So we have to start with the basics. And D3 is just not for visualization; it's also for reading, consumption of data, displaying data itself, or caching data itself. So let's start looking at how we can get to learning more about D3. So anyway, so let's start with the first code. And there is a lot of syntax in this. I think what I'll do is I'll have a link or two for those who want to learn the concepts of it much further on Slack, and so you can look at it. Right? Let's see. Let's get into some codes, right? And so first of all, what you will do is, as I said, you're basically going to borrow this, and this should be primarily the similar way of how you got the CDN for Bootstrap in your code, right? So you're basically passing in the JavaScript, this link, the one that you open. All this you're going to get in your code, so you can use all these functions. You'll see there are a lot of functions. There are a lot of code, like a lot of loops and stuff. that you don't have to worry about maintaining. Right? So you bring that in, and so you bring that in before you start using it, leveraging it. Right? So let's see what this does. And then you have this and your JavaScript file. This should be familiar, right? We have been looking at it. You have the app.js, like index.js alongside your HTML code. The JS file has the code actual code, and then you render it through your HTML. So here, now we start looking at how this can be done, right? So, for example, before I do anything, let me just open this one in the browser. So, okay, so this code says this is an header one, and all these things. Why is this happening? Let's go ahead and look at it. Right? How? So we go back here, and so if I run this, and so this is an header one is from here. Right? This div has a class. So if I had this whole file commented, let's say with this shift here or something, yeah. Just commented all the lines in this code, right? We're doing shift alt A, and so if I go back here and if I run the code, it does not render anything from the JavaScript file right now. So let me do this. And I start introducing one thing at a time. Right? So I'm going to just uncomment this. Sure. So what I'm trying to do here is trying to run this code one by one. So right now, the text one. So text one comes from here. Okay, so classes, different types of classes are these. So this is a class. So this div has a class. So I want this to be this div has a class should be printed, right? Because if I'm rendering the HTML file, if I right click it and say open the browser, the text one under the header should be this div has a class. I want to change it. Right? I want to keep changing it as I go on. So to change that, right? So if you go here and console log, inspect, and then console log. So the text one should say this div has a class, right? But if you see, so this is kind of, let me see if I can shrink it. Okay, shrink it some more so you can see. Great. So how you see text one says this div has a class. So as I said last time, console.log. Why is console.log used? What is the function of console.log? Johnny, do you remember? Okay. Well, it's been a little bit of time between that. You can tell me what console.log does. Yes. Perfect. Prints from the console. So when I say console.log, what happens is whatever I have, value of that content is printed, right? So text one, whatever is text one is in that code will get printed. Right? So if I do console.log here, before I have changed the text one, which here you see text one is right now, this div has a class. And I haven't changed it because when I render the file, it first executes, so it goes serially on this line. Okay, so if I do that, then this, if I had this shift, okay, and if I do that, then this console.log will give me this div has a class as the text, because in the code, you see x1 is this div has a class. Everybody gets this, what I'm trying to say? Who is still confused about what's happening here? No one? Okay. So the print, before you execute any of this. Now we have already done, the compiler has already done the thing, so that's why you're getting different values. But then that's that. Text2, what is the text2 here? Let's see. What is text2? Helen, what is text2 in this code right now? Text2 should be like, if I do console.log and print text2, what should print? This div has an ID. Yes, this div has an ID. It's right here. Below text1, there's text2. This div has an ID. Okay. Okay. There's minor difference between how you. This is for ID. This is for a class. Okay. Just remember that. The dot is for the class. Referring to a class. This is referring to a ID. And where is that? We look at these things in HTML, the classes and the IDs and stuff like that. So this ID, this referencing to this particular thing. If you print console.log, text2 says, and then if you go and look at the console, you'll see that text2 says this div has an ID. Is everyone clear how we got those values? And I'm just trying to build the concepts, and then we'll see how this can be used in a larger way of rendering those beautiful charts. So then the my link. So anyway, so then now what I'm going to do in this statement at the line 9. If you have this file, open it up, or you probably don't. So just look at this statement. D3. This is going to reference to your D3 library that you inputted in your HTML. Okay, the standard thing, that this code that we say. This. Where did that go? Yes. When you say D3 dot, you're calling the library function. No, D3 dot select. Okay, so dot select is a function, select function within that library. Dot x1. So it's saying D3, use select function, which means select that function. And then we are saying that dot text, which is another function. So it's telling you that whatever is text1, override that with, hey, I changed this. Okay. So basically you're changing the text1 value, which is this div has a class was the value as of text1. And you're now going to change it with, hey, I changed this, okay? So if you did this and looked at here again, right, you see the text1 has changed when I run the code. And it's now, hey, I changed this. And so if you wanted to see, if I printed the text1 says again, like, so if I went in and said, no, I want to print this one also. So if I added this thing, what should print in the console? It should print. Johnny, what would
Next one?
Yeah, and which will be?
Next one says?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
What would be, if I print the statement? Right now,
yeah, I changed this?
Yeah, I changed this. Correct. Text one says, hey, I changed this because we changed it. Right? So let's try that. Okay, let's try that and see if that actually does. If I did that, so, yeah. Went here, open in default browser, and it is console. Interesting. It didn't do it. That's crazy. Huh. What is that? That is surprising. Shouldn't happen. See, Control S. And there's it. So, yeah. Oh, it changes here, but that's what I'm trying to look for. Console should print out. Interesting. Huh. It's not what I was expecting. Anyways, I need to debug that. That should print it. That should forward in the value of this guy, which is not good. Anyways, let's move on, and I'll take a break and I'll look at why that didn't do it. So if you want to refer to a link, so .mylink is nothing but, I mean, this is a name, you can have anything. .mylink is a class mylink in the index.html schema. So this class mylink, right, has this code here. Right? So if you say console.mylink, it should print all of this. Okay, so it should give you this value here. If you go and look at the code again, then you have that mylink printed, that whole code. Anything between that tag, okay, it printed that. Anything between that tag. If you want to just print the link within the tag A, then there is another syntax, right? And so that is to do mylink and then a sign greater than sign A. So it's telling you, get me the link from my link. It's called a link anchor, or you can call it anything you want. Basically giving you the link only, right? And so if you want to look at the link only, then here it is. The link at link is, and so this one's, this is your link only. HTTPS GitHub/dp/d. So if you see, go back here and look at this link only. So that's your link only. So link anchor, right? And so change elements attribute. Like if you wanted to change the link anchor from this from the GitHub to this python.org, you can do it just how you change the text, right? You call the D3 select that particular class name dot text, and then you overrode it with something else. Similarly, you can do mylink anchor dot attribute, change it to href, which is the link attribute, to python.org, and we'll change it to python.org. If you change the D3 select mylink attribute again, and the attribute, we're changing it to nytimes.org with text. Now this link is a link to NYT. And so if you see, you can keep selecting things for a link and keep overriding what you have in the code. So how does this help? We'll get the better idea as we progress to the class. This is just text and syntax of these things. But as we go, we'll see how we can dynamically render things and start changing them as from the user input, like whatever user input. So we'll change and we'll show something, some things that make sense, or even go to a point where we can aggregate things or combine things and create mean and medians and print those, etc., etc. So let's look at. So I think key concepts here. We are looking at some methods to override links, override the text associated with those links. So now, if you see this link now links to NYT. I don't know why this is. Yeah. So to New York Times. So That's basically what it's doing. It now is taking me to another link, and here it will take me to the D3 GitHub library, which you can, by the way, fold from here as well. Not here, but from here, you can go to D3's main page, and then you can fold them directly on GitHub. Right? So they have all of it on GitHub, and there are various contributors, so it's not maintained by necessarily one person. So README, etc. So you have all these different functions, and you can basically Google if you want one. I can find a couple of examples, but you can have D3 cheat sheets. It will bring you various cheat sheets, and you can see in cheat sheets, you will basically, if you pick one, it will tell you what it. You can select and just select world, which we have been using. It returns the element found. Select all. If you wanted all the headers in a document, then you do select all dot text one. Or if you have the class, like we looked at the Craigslist ads for the guitars and stuff like that, and all that information. So it will give you different. This one's pretty cool actually. We have a lot of good stuff. So something like this is very useful for your trying to make sure that you can't remember possibly all the functions. But if you have certain logic, you know what functions are associated with what. And here it says dot text. So selection dot text will set the text content of the selection. So we'll change the selection from something that's returned first to hey, I change this, or hey, this is a new text. So whatever that user gives. I know this is very dry in understanding right now, but once we start using it, it will get more interactive and figuring it out. So select all, yeah, good thing. Select all will give you, so this will give you all the list elements like in the code. I will say style of that is color blue. So if you, actually, let's see, since is this, okay, so this is how you start. Right, so this is the page. When you don't have the .js file, this is how the page will look like. This is nh1. This div has a class. This div has an ID, and these items were not any color. They were just bullets. And they were just static items. Right? So here now you see we have turned them blue, and that happens because the JavaScript code here is saying that all the list items, style them in color blue. Okay, so now those are in color blue. So before rendering the JS or using the JS, the page would look like this. And basically what you did was by executing the JavaScript written in your JS file using D3, this has changed. Okay, it's just another way of changing colors and stuff. Then here you're saying select an append. Append is to add things to your list, right? So your list only has 3 things: item 1, item 2, item 3. What it'll do is it'll dynamically add another item to it. And if you wanted to add another item, then you can say append, and it's just showing you 2 different ways of doing it. One, you can set the variables, then you can do D3 select UL. And append a list item, and then give the list item a text. Or you can do it in one line, right? D3.select UL.append li, and then rather than using this li1.text, you can just add this dot text at the end of it and make it a statement, one line. Okay. So is this making sense? Like what we are trying to do? I know, like, I see some confused faces. Is this useful? Like, I mean, not useful in the context of how we are going to use it, but is this useful to understand the concept of D3? Because JavaScript, you were writing far more lines to do these simple things. And like color blue or something like that, you'll have to figure out 2-3 things, a 2-3 line of code. And this one is making it easier. It's just like Bootstrap for JavaScript. It's just like a library that helps you effectively write your code and all that stuff. Is that making sense? I mean, at least why we're using this. So focus on this, right? For now, remember that there are many functions in your D3 library. And I gave you a link just now, so let's use that link and bring it up again. So this is like you will have a cheat sheet if you're doing this day in and day out. You'll have a cheat sheet, and of course you have all the other. I think W3 Schools has a good documentation on it. It shows you how to do it. But I think this is fairly standard, and I mean, there are some things that you can use in Blender. Okay. So with that, I guess, and that cheat sheet, I guess let's see if we can do the second exercise, which is, let's read it first, which is, yeah, sure, yeah.
We are showing you guys how to select and change elements on an HTML page. Why would you want to be able to do this? Can anyone come up with some reasons?
Huh?
I'm sorry? Exactly. Interactivity. You want users to be able to interact with your website and treat them as a user interface. You don't just want static files. Thank you.
That's it. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the whole core concept of JavaScript. Right? It adds you to do actions based on user input. So you're basically earlier you were building beautiful web pages, like when we did your resume, right? That exercise to build your resume online using Bootstrap. Yeah, that's a good exercise to do it. But it doesn't have dynamic elements. Like you can build a resume with interactivity now. Like you can do like, hey, what was I doing? What was this person I was doing between 2000 and 2010? And then you can remember it and your resume will populate from that experience and stuff like that. It will make it much more beautiful. You can add charts. You can show how your salary went up or went down. So things like that. It's just more like, it's more fun stuff. Making web pages come alive. So thanks, Nolan, for that. So this is a major shift in jumping to the next level of being able to play with web pages. And I understand like people work in this field like web pages for 3-4 years and then they get to master the D3s and stuff like that. So it may be a little bit of learning exercise for you guys, but I think here we're covering very basic concepts. We'll advance in the next week or two. We'll actually get to advanced D3 functions and that solely correlate to your data visualization piece. Okay, so this one is just still trying to get you build on your base. So stick with me, try to figure this out, but we'll walk around and help you. So in this exercise, what you have to do is you want to add a new row of data to a table. So you will be given a table and you'll also be converting the Bootstrap table into a Stripe table. What does that mean? If you look at this, this is your table right now. If you open it, this is how it looks. Okay. You're going to add new row and you're going to make this a Stripe table. What does Stripe table mean? The Stripe table is nothing but like in Excel, you have Stripe tables. Right? You want it to look like so every row has a different shade alternate, so you can it adds more readability in case of a lot of data. So from here, looking like this with Malcolm, Zoe, Kylie, and Simon, you want to be able to go to this kind of view where you add a new student and a grade, and then go from there. What have you been given for this? Okay, so one thing, and I'll probably walk you through this a little bit. So you've been given an index.html file, which is based out of Bootstrap. So the table structure here is from Bootstrap. You will look at it and you will immediately recognize that you have the grades table in which the headers, the table headers are name and grade, right? The table headers are name and grade. So you have that. It's going to walk you through the code. First row, TD, table data, is Malcolm, and his table data is 80. Zoe 85, Kylie and Simon. Those are the numbers. And then at the end of it, you are using this app.js to do anything you want, but there's nothing here really. There is no code to add the wash 79, which is the new student. So you have been given a variable new grade wash 79. Now you want to do, if you follow these comments, D3 to select the table, okay? So, and you have a cheat sheet with you. To select a table, we'll probably use a certain code. And so I'll have you try it a little bit, and then let's see if you are struggling with this. Maybe work with a partner. We'll work with someone you're sitting next to. And D3.append will help you add a new row or the new cell for a student name and new cell for a student grade and so on and so forth. So try to use that cheat sheet that I sent earlier with what it wants you to do, and see when you run the code what it does for you. A good way of testing your code is also doing console.log and then printing what you see. So that's a good way to see things. Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes or so, and we'll walk through this after that. Okay, so at about 7:15, I'll start discussing some of the code. But work with someone next to you. What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just talking about like how where like I think I was so it's like talking about like why you did it versus like using it first to like Tableau or yeah. There's one you can just do the on the web.
Yeah.
There you go. Tableau if you want to do that, it's not having buy a license. When you have Tableau public, it's free.
Yeah.
You know, this is much more powerful. And free, and you know, like in enterprise environment, yes. That's what I talked about. I talked about how if that on my side. So it's actually jargon stuff. That's like drawing and Yes, I will join the panel so how pandas in the life of Python. We need the life for Java. See, I mean, what is the library? Like pandas and non-Python library for Python. Somebody has it in that code, and the code that I showed was the link in the code where
Oh,
yeah.
Price variable.
You're driving, right?
I just
Worry about it.
So like label name.
Sure.
And then we need first.
Sure.
And then use D3 to start.
Yeah. So, you know,
never really have to create a variable, but it's a lot easier.
The dogs would say that you're the you use instead the if you use this little pound sign instead, what you're saying is you're using
Yeah, I was just making sense. Good. Okay. Next, yeah.
Yeah.
Next is very, yeah. I was going to try to. Well, actually, you know what? Sometimes it's we'll cheat a little bit. I'll have the code up there. You guys actually get the idea of how you go about it. So think about it, why and how we want to do this. But when you do it, it will really help if you wrote 2-3 lines and see what it does, and then wrote a couple of lines and see what it does again. So it will help you with moving forward.
Yeah. What were you? I'm sorry. What were you thinking? Okay. Also, if you want to try something, that might help.
there you
No, I don't. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, favorite question. What did you use for that? Okay. Oh, that's good. Really good. It's very helpful. Like when you want to go operationalize stuff. We can learn like
I can see. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
The biggest use case that I find is that's when I use
And then use the tables.
you wanna
That's
put
what's
for someone.
Okay.
For example,
I didn't.
So I can create a dirty, like, looking, but if you create that, have the contract that they need for the data. So you don't have like to buy a software contract and do that, right? So otherwise, what everybody does, they want to give you.
It's like
Okay.
I was just like talking about my hair.
So here, you have
No. That's not weird, but like, I think we're more tied up in
I didn't like that.
Yeah, I think
I tend to grade 0 and tend to grade 1.
okay, well, I have a question.
I don't know if that's
Yeah.
Five minutes ahead of 30 minutes.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to, are you guys typing the code and running it? Okay, I'll give you guys 5 more minutes. But we'll walk through it also, so you guys know what's happening for those of us.
Oh,
They don't. It's not. Yeah.
there must be a way that we can have the JavaScript change the class performance. Because I mean, the easy way to do that, we just don't need to know. Yeah. Right now, we're trying to find that to keep it I believe maybe I was kind of thinking that's what
You're better at
It's like that, right?
The first,
Is it? Oh, it's in the.
right now, it's attribute, I think you just be clear what this is. That's slowly, because over here in the example, it's. Okay, so it's adding colors to this. It's not adding this T bar. They're saying just do it as select.
Okay.
We already learned that. That's why right now this is the assignment. Here.
Where 5, 2, 1. We do this.
Okay, so now this is have anyone like come and give this one.
yeah, it worked.
Okay. Okay. Let's quickly start going through this code. So good way of looking at it, actually, if you were, if I was to, I'll start doing this actually. I'll get this code. So this one, I'll put it here. So if I just had this and start looking at what it will do, right? So if I just had select table, so how does it work? If I go here now and run my code again, open in browser, nothing changed. I just said select table, right? Selecting a table will just give you, because why don't I have anything here? Because I don't have console.log, right? So if I add console.log, then it should work. Okay. Something went wrong there. Interesting. Not behaving. From the table. Anyway, so I don't know why this is not working. If you had table, you're basically telling this to go and pick a table from here, which is clear, right? What it's trying to do is casting in the table. I wish I could just show you right now. Then if you if you wanted to go another level and get the table attributes, which is done by this code, and you would ask me like, how would I know that I have to get this in here? You go look at your HTML code. You'll basically, what is this? If you look at this guy here, what it tells you is if you want table contents, right? So what is the table structure? Yeah, here, this one, right? So if you want the table to be stripped, then you use this class, okay? Go back now and look at, did everybody get why we did that? Okay. It's awesome nods. You got why we did that. Okay. Did you get it, Caroline? Yeah, okay. After Bootstrap, yeah. So if you go to Bootstrap, then there is a class called, now you're saying table.attribute class table stripe. So what will this do? Will actually make the table stripe. So let's see, maybe this one works now. I've always found B3 and JavaScript, at least compiler issues are very common in those. Like if you compile something, it's not as, so look, what it did was it striped the table now. Okay, so one more step. So hope everyone's clear on that. It seems like people got what this does, so that's good. I was worried about it. Then, so I'll just go and explain to you what other things. So when you say T body is basically getting you the table body, right? And so what would that select? Anyone, Patrick? The body of the table. So select the body of the table. And ideally, if I did console.log T body, it should show you the table body. Then what you need to do is append the TR. So why are we appending a TR? TR is for what? Table row. Table row, right? So we're going to append a table row. So if I had these two here, and if I go and let me do this, I'm just trying to show you line by line. So if you actually did this line by line, you would have seen it, like how it. So if I do open default browser, it hasn't shown here, but if you look at view page source, you will see. Here. Okay, let's do this. I'm not going to show in. Yeah, so here, did it add one? Why did it not add one more? Oh, yeah, it did. So if you see, it didn't show you, but this last one, empty one, you can't see it. But it got added, right? So you have here, Simon. Earlier, if you saw before this, you didn't have these open and closed brackets of TR. So append TR actually goes and adds the table row. You haven't added data to it yet. It adds the table row. Is that clear? See what happened? Those two tags, open and close tags, got added. That, yeah. So it will just append the dot, the TR code, right? So we have only reached up to this point. So it went, selected the key body, and then it added that TR, the open and close tag. Before this code, it didn't have that. Now, the next thing you're going to do is actually add the new grade. Okay, append TD. So now it's going to append to this row in this new tag the grade, but in the grade you have two data elements, right? First data element is the name of the grade, wash. So it's going to add wash first, and then it's going to add the second row. Right? So let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to just take this guy here, and if I here, so it is going to add the student name. We'll see that. Hopefully it doesn't. Yeah, see, it just added the student name. It hasn't still. And if you go look at the page source code, this is how you actually use. No, not here. Sorry. It should, right? inspect elements. In elements, you go HTML head. Then I go to body, div, class row. Class, table class, table body, T body. It has all these rows. In the last row, you see the TD wash got added. And if you saw here, you have two things in that table body, TD Simon and TD 99. We just now, by adding that append grade 0, we just added the wash as B. Okay. So that's that. And then finally, if you go to the last one, which is append td.text.grade1, so you're going to add the final element to this. This is useful. Yes? Yeah, this one is ignoring like the character types, right? It's just everything is being treated as text right now. Okay. We'll look at, that's a good question, and we'll look at how that gets parsed when we, so now I added 79. Yeah, I just add one by one, right? Which one? Which row?
For example, you first got wash and then you got 79.
Right. So what I was doing is I was changing the code in JavaScript file one by one. So I was, as if you were typing the code, right? I was taking the code from here, and then I'm doing it a little faster than you can catch maybe. I'm basically adding one by one line code. Like that's what I was telling her. Yes.
So generally, if you just select the table class and then you do append TD,
Okay.
then it will update. You don't need to do layout by layout.
No, you don't have to. Yeah, absolutely. You don't. You can. Yeah, no, exactly. I can do this all much in a shorter. And remember, we use, I don't know if you remember because it was a while ago, but we use map and arrow functions, the mapping and arrow values and stuff. We're going to use that in this class today as well. So I'm going to make things easy, but you have to understand the basics to that. That's what I'm showing you, because typically as a data scientist, I mean, you're not going to sit and create all the code, but you might be debugging someone else's code, or like you're like looking at something, unless your aspiration is to be a good blogger or something that is maintaining everything, right? So this will be already maintained somewhere. And so mostly you're trying to fetch that data and then put it in a table and then use it for your analysis. So you need to know how to get to that element data. So I'm helping you build it first, and then we'll see how it goes. I just want everybody to be clear on this concept, even if we have to go really slow. So at the end of it, you see that you have the entire table text in, and so here, and then if you look at this code, you will see that last element. So you don't need to look at, so head, we don't need to look, we just need to look at the body, class, the container, class row, class, and then table class, table, let's try table, and then the body of the table, and body of the table, you'll find two rows now, wash and 79. Okay, is that clear? Everyone's clear about how this works? Okay, so as your warm up on D3, now let's look at something new. Okay, so that's done. Okay, and this one is, so you have, okay, so what you need to do, let's say you were given a task to create a data set or pull a data set. So you have a data set, let's say in a, I mean, not necessarily in a JavaScript file, you might have it in a table, any kind of table in MongoDB or anything, which is a JSON or BSON, so key value pair, right? That's all you need. So if you have that and you want to display, okay, in an interactive way, how would you do it? So using, of course, D3 concept. So here, I have just a simple web page with these four. Man, how did this run? because I'm running it from. Okay. Give me a second. Let's do this. So here you have a web page, just a simple one that does not have any data, and your goal is to get all that weather data. So you have only the column headers: weekday, date, high and low. These are your column headers at the top. Okay. And now your goal is to populate this table from this time we'll use just a static JS file, JavaScript file that has a data set. And that data set is this data set. Right? It has weather for every single row. Seems like pretty good weather because it's July. Highs are in 70s and 80s, and lows are still in 70s. So this weather data, you want to put it into your table that you have. You have all the 4 column values: weekday, date, high, low. Okay, so all these different values are there. Okay, this could be anything in going forward, right? Right now we're just looking at this as being a static file, like how we started reading CSVs first. This is comparable to that. So now you have this. You want to insert this. Okay, so how would you go about it? How would you go about it? Any ideas? We have learned so many things, right? So first, when you get this task, remember, if you don't work in D3 every day, you need to start thinking like combining all the knowledge there. So some of the things that we learned, well, how would you go about it? Just some ideas. Yes. Perfect. For loop. Yeah, that's it. We need for loop. In for loop, is there something that we learned that was more efficient than a for loop? Easier way, maybe? For each. That's it. So now you know. See, this is all you need to remember. Okay. If this is not your day-to-day job, if you can get to this answer, boom, you're going to get the code because then you know what to search for. Right? You know you will search for it, right? So you just need to know what to search for and feel confident in that because syntax, nobody's going to go back from this class and remember every single semicolon and where it should be. Just let's accept it. I don't remember it also. And I just know that I need a for loop and I need a for each, and I know 20 other tools. So I just kind of scrape through my brain and I figure out, oh, maybe this will work. Let me try that. And then I try that. So this is how you do it. So for each, bingo, that's what you need to do. So now the task is like, how do I do for each? We have learned that. I know we don't remember. So let's revise it. This will be a good revision. And then another thing, where would you put that? So you know that. So you were given an HTML page. Where would you put that for each? In which of the files? Like, would you put it in data.js or would you do something else? Index.js. So you may not have index.js to begin with. So if I want to do this, I'm going to create an index.js somewhere in the root live folder. I'm going to start writing something. Okay. There are chances that 99% of the time, if you Google this question, how to read the JavaScript, you'll get a code. You don't even have to, we live in 2019 now, right? So the codes are already there. There's a lot of stuff. So you would probably get the code right away. You don't even have to worry about, even if you do SQL reading and JavaScript, HTML page, you will get a code. You know how to do it, and you don't have to. So I just want to make sure that you learn how to decode and how to get yourself out of this situation. So let's look at it. This is my data file. And so if I start writing something, right, I'll have to go through for each statement, okay? The easier way to do it, we're going to see the easier way using map and arrow functions. But before we go there, I want you to see how can you even start with this. So you have, let's say I'm going to make changes to this file so we know. So right now, all you are given is, hey, variable t-body, select t-body, which is table body. We know that table body is called as t-body. If you don't know, that's fine. If you don't know, that's perfectly fine. If you go here and if you say inspect, and we'll open up, and you'll know it will be a body, and there is a Yeah, table and T-body. Okay, so T-body is that. That's it. If you don't know, if you don't remember, 2 years after this class is over, if it changed, if they started calling this something else, T underscore body or something, right? Then you would know because you know that you can still go to inspection here. It won't change, but I'm just saying, right? So you know that you can call it that way. Okay. So now I know that I need to select T-body. If I don't know how to do select, I'm going to go look for the D3 cheat sheet and I'm going to do it. Right? And that you have select. So selecting the T-body. If I do that, this is what was not working earlier. Let's see what the console.log.data shows, right? If I do that, let's run it. Right now, if I do inspect and if I do console, it shows me this. Why does it show me this? Yes, sir. Data.js. So it's referring and telling me this is my data. Okay. This is giving me my console and it's giving me the data from the data.js file. So I know I'm dealing with this data right away. Okay, good. So everyone's clear on that. Now let's go and try and start coding, right? So it's gonna use this right now. So, and I'm going to ask questions on what do you think will happen if we do this, okay? So, okay, so here, I'm gonna take that one out. That was correct. We were going to use for each. So for each, yeah, I'm going to call this function a weather report. And I'm going to say console.log weather report. Basically print everything in the weather report. Data for each weather report, right? For each weather report, do this. Okay. This will let's run it and see if it does anything or if it shows you anything. Right? So we did that. Going back here. And if you want to follow along, that's good. So what it did right now, as soon as I did that, it broke that array into list of different objects in the array. Okay? It broke that array into different list of objects in a proper JSON type of code. Make sense? Okay. So now I have this. So I have moved into this like for each, obviously, went through each of the element, scrape that data, and now put it into a more accessible array of things. Okay, so function for data.for each. So it's saying go to data for each function weather report and then do this. Okay, now that's that. So now you want to somehow get the entries of those and start appending. So I have all those things. So next thing I will do is I'll get those entries and start appending those table records, table rows first, and TRs, I have to put the data in, right? So I need to do something with TR, table record rows, and then add some TDs, table data to those, right? So we know that we need to do it. So in that case, let's see what this next piece of code would do for you. It would, so, and I'm going to ask someone to read this for me because it would be straightforward and what this code is going to do. So get this, let's get this figured out. So what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to, of course, read all those 7 objects that I have. And what will this do? T-body.append TR. Another row. Okay. For what? So there are 7 days of data in here, right? So let's be clear about that. It will add 7 TRs open bracket and close, like the tags, right? Seven TR tags. What you expect. Okay, I think that's about what we'll do. So you do this and you run it again. And then you have that inspect. If you go to elements in your T body, the table body, you should have 7 empty TRs. Okay, that's what this step did. If you go to console, don't worry about what console is doing. It's going to do whatever it needs to do. Okay, execute it again. But what this piece of code, yes? What do you mean? We're seeing it. If you saw it before the step, do it on your computer. If you saw before the step, you did not have under T-body, you would not have these TR codes. On console, because we are not, okay, somebody tell me why can't we see it? There's nothing in it, and then we are not really printing anything in the code. We're not like here I printed this one is printing the objects, okay? But we can't really print the TR codes. I mean, that's not the goal. Like a print function does not give console anything to print.
Okay, so I guess I'm missing probably the where we can see the tables on the screen right now.
I don't understand the question.
Last one we had about the full table is here HTML layout for the Stripe.
Yeah, it was showing it with Stripe, but remember when I did not add the TD, table data element wash, and TD. So these are the two different things. The console is printing whatever is under console.log. Okay, console is printing that. Elements is modifying the HTML file, initial HTML file, without overwriting it in a dynamic way to add the contents of the new contents, interactive contents of that program. Is that making sense? I mean, it's not really going to print TR. There's nothing to print. Hold on that thought for a minute, and let's move forward. Let me close a few things. Too many other ones are open. So let's see. So that piece of code. So look. Here, I don't have anything under TR. Let's observe here, right? Because the next piece I'm going to do is start adding elements here, right? So right now, I do not have anything here, but I do actually have 7 rows. Okay, if you look, let me just make it. Okay, if you look here, I don't have anything, but you can't even see them. They're like not spaced out all the way. They're like tiny things that are like not spaced out, right? So there are 7 rows between. You see how this cursor moves down slowly? Like, yeah, so it's just moving. It has 7 rows. As I put data in there, the font will space them out properly. So it hasn't spaced them out properly. Is everyone with me? Is there anyone who's like, oh my God, I have just, because if you're not on this train, if you leave, if you're at some other platform, it's going to be very difficult for you to catch this train. It has left the station. So, I'm telling you, no, seriously, this is that you're going to have the cascading effects of. So if you want to stop me right now and make sure that you understand everything, or at least you have time to catch up with your partner, then that's another story. Everyone's with me, right? Nobody was left at the previous station. Okay, good. So let's go on and try to see what the next one, and you will get the gist of it, what we're trying to do. I'm just trying. Remember, JavaScript is like Python. D3 is the library, like pandas and NumPy. This is going to make our life easier, going to give us a lot more functionality. So we looked at JavaScript in the first 2 classes. Now we're going and learning a library within JavaScript. There are many, many, many libraries in JavaScript, like thousands of libraries. Same as Python. There are thousands of libraries. So my first and only request has always been, since the beginning of this class, get the concepts, New libraries will come, new things will come. You need to be very clear on your basics. Okay. Today is D3, tomorrow it's something else. I don't know. Same goes with Python. If your basics are clear, you can debug a library and figure out what that library helps you do. Only those libraries get famous that provide exceptional functionality and an exceptional documentation and a heavy user adoption. Okay, those are the libraries that surface to the top of the libraries. D3 is one of the top libraries we are going to look at some other JavaScript libraries also, Plotly and stuff like that. But D3 is still very heavily used. Okay, so new libraries we'll get there. So I'm going to teach you like how we learn pandas, NumPy, and a few other libraries, matplotlib and stuff like that. Similarly, we learn D3, Plotly, and some other libraries also. Okay, so this is just one of the libraries, and there is nuances to how you do things. Anyways, the next one is to yes. Weather report, where did we define it? We defined it right here when we said function weather report. I can call anything. I can call this anything. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like it is not, it is defined right after the word function. So I could have called it like, for example, here. Yeah, tomato. I could have called it tomato. That's fine. And then once I do that, so if I went here and say tomato, it doesn't matter. Like it can be named anything. This is a function name right here. Data is the key thing. Yeah.
That's referencing that whole
the list of data, right? And so when it say data, that is referencing this, and for each element in data, that's the function. Anybody can you can call it anything. Yeah. Printing every element in data. We looked at it. Every element. So it's going for each, but it's English, but it's reverse, right? So it's saying for each element in data, print the element. That's it. It's like, but you have to give it the name of the where the data is. That's data.js, data dot for each. In JS, I mean, it treats itself as like almost another library. How D3 is a library, data is also a library that has only data. Did I confuse everyone enough in that one?
Well, we're not using it as a library.
We're not using it as a library. See, what we are doing is like, yeah.
I mean, pretty much defines the content of the function right next line.
Correct. It's called inline function definition. I could have defined it somewhere else and then use that, but I'm defining it inline. We looked at it last time. I know there is a lot going on. So, and if it's first time for you, if you're not revising, if you're not paying attention, that's easy to get left behind a little bit. So I want to slow down a little bit so everybody gets it. Yes? There's no value here, no. Correct. Yeah, we are not passing any value, but we'll look at functions that actually accept values and pass values. Key value pairs, we looked at it also last time. But you could pass key value pairs and key value pairs. We can do that as well. Yeah, right now it's not accepting any value. But you can define a long function here which takes inputs from other things, does math, and then returns math somewhere. This just does printing. This print function is just printing. Okay. Let's go and look at another line of code, which is, now I have this, but I want to, we looked at that one. I want to get all the key value pairs in, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to now start pulling, scraping that, and scraping is just a word that I'm using here, but I'm going to use all the object entries and use that to get all the entries into my weather report. I'm just going to get the entries right now. I'm not putting those into the table, the TA things. So this is just evolving now code that helps you. So if I do save this, you'll see what it will do. It will just print. What will it do? Chris, what will it do? What do you think this is going to do?
It should print, I think, the key and the value, and that's it. That the key and the value would be from the data, I believe.
Yes, from the data, it will print the key and the value. Now it's actually referencing every single key value, and every single key value is nothing but the weather on like the day, and you'll see like so. For example, what now? Let's before we go there, right? I like to do this because then the concepts are clear. So what is the key here? Every single key value pair. So what is the key? And this example, what date is the key? July 2nd is the value. So it will give you all of that printed because why? Because you're doing console.log. Okay, just the way of doing it. So let's see if it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. Later. I'll open a new one. This one big. And so if I did that, let's run this. Now, where should I go, Chris? Inspect, and then where will I see this change?
In the console?
In the console, correct. So in the console, now I had all these already inputted, the objects. But you see it's printing key and value. Key and value, key and value. So it's just giving me weekday sun, which is Sunday, date July 1. No colons, nothing. It's just giving me that. Makes sense? Okay. We just wanted that. Okay. So see how we're developing the program to do what we want to ultimately achieve. Now we want these values populated into the table and map to the, because our table is weekday, temperature or whatever the sun and so on, highs and lows, right? Those are the, so we already know the keys are referring to the column headers and the values are the ones that we need to print under those column headers, right? So we're going to go after value. And so to do that, first we're going to append every single cell for each value only. Okay, so we want to get the value only, and so and then print that value. And we're going to go through all of this, okay? And you will see that here we're going to get the value, but let's finish this one. This is really building your concepts on how to do this, right? So let's just go through it one by one, even if it takes a while. Everyone clear on still no questions? Here, what I'm trying to do is I build this function. I have these key values. Now I'm just doing what? I'm just appending the TDs. Okay. So right now, before I run this code, what will happen? Krishna, what will happen right now when I do this whole thing? What things will happen when I execute the program? Every row you will get a TD, correct? TD. Okay. So right now do we have it right now? No. It won't do anything on the console with the TD stuff. Okay. TD will just add to the stable body. If you go down here, you'll see that it will just add in these TRs, you will get a TD. Okay. I think here now more TRs got added because I'm doing the code incrementally, right? So it's computing again and again. So it's going to mess up a little bit, but I just wanted to show you the concept of it. So that's fine. We'll get there. So this is just whole one. We are developing this function slowly, right? So when I execute it again and again, it does numerous things. But let's see. So if I did that and ran it, and so I did that. Browser inspect, and I have PD here. Lots of, so now it should give me lots of PDs inside. It give me PDs inside of these TRs. Okay, so there are 4 data elements under every single TR. I mean, ignore these ones. These ones are from the previous ones. But from here, you will see I have in every TR, I have 4 TDs. In every TR, I have 4 TDs. And in every TR, in every row, now I have 4 columns. Okay. So that's what that is doing. Okay. And then finally, when I go ahead and do the final step of this program, which is nothing but adding. I mean, this is the same function. Like you can just write this much code and that should be sufficient because it's going to do everything in that one line. And so in that TD, I need to pass what? Only the value, correct? That we know how to get to the value. So the value, if I have to do that, then some volunteer to tell me which cell is going to do that. Which of the 4 in this line, which line is going to add the values to the table. We found it. Tell me which line here is, Marcus, which line is going to add the values to that line number in this program? 51 cell.text value will add the value from this key value pair that you've cached into the TDs. Okay. That's it. So if you are so here's the thing, right? You won't necessarily become the data scientist on the team. You might be the project manager on the team. You might be the business analyst on the team. You might be the manager of the data science team. All you need to know is someone else is going to write this for you, and you need to know where they're going wrong sometimes. And I mean, it takes experience to learn that, but this is what you need to do. Oh, if somebody has done cell.text key and cell.text value and their program is not compiling or printing keys and values, then you know where they're going wrong. You can tell them, hey, you just delete this piece. And so there, or you can be also a QA. You can be a quality administrator on that one, right? So quality control person. So on that code. So that's fine. I mean, you're contributing in various ways to the team. So good. So now I have it. Of course, it didn't print because I had those. But if I didn't run it in that fashion, then about 14 rows about this. But that's it. Boom. It picked all the values and it printed all the values. Okay. So if you look at it, source. If you look at it, inspect, console, we did all this, and recently just took all the values and printed there. If you go to elements and now we'll go look at the code, you'll see in the last 7 rows that we added, where the table data elements were there, you have actually TDs with those values. Okay. TDs with the values. And so you can see how the code is flowing. See that? So that's what happened. Everyone's clear on how this works? Okay. Okay, so you can do all of that. You can do everything that we just saw, or you can write it as simple as this. This is even fewer lines with map and arrow functions. Okay, map here we are using only arrow function. Where is the arrow function here, Jillian? What piece is the arrow function? Yeah, we learned arrow function on I think think last Wednesday. What was arrow function? No. Okay. Safwan, what was arrow function? Yeah, arrow itself, but what did it do?
Basically appending, getting that data from the PR and putting it in the row, something like that.
That is okay. Not that. Yes, Zach. Yes, that's it. So to think of it, it's actually just going to get everything in that function, right? So arrow function is basically used to map every single element of the for each loop. Okay. And then putting that, so what it's doing is everything that you have in data.js, all the key value pairs, all the data elements, take those and then map them in here. Okay. So now your code becomes only what, 6 lines. You get every single element, you get the variable, you define a variable row, and which depends. So for every single data element, append a tr. This is what it's saying. And then for every entry, get the key value, and again arrow function, use those key values and put those into TD, and then put the sale for every single key value pair, add a TD, and then get just value from that value pair and then add it to the. It's just beautiful, right? You don't have to write all that stuff. Arrow function just helps you map. But we also talked about the disadvantage of using for each. Why would you not want to use for each? And use a traditional for loop. Anyone? Will? Well, why would you not? No? Don't remember? Okay. Why would you not use arrow? Anyone? Sarah, do you remember why? For each, yes, yeah. That's it. If we just wanted 3 rows, then you will have to go back to I equal to 0 to plus I plus only to go through first 3 elements. Or you can start at first element, you just want last 3 elements. If you're looking at stocks, right? The stocks that lost most, top 5 stocks that lost most value today. You have a blog, a dynamic blog that takes from some kind of API and then pulls it and then shows it on your blog. These are the top 5 losers and top 5 winners of today's stock market. Then you just want to get the top, you want to start and get the only top 5 functions. So that time you don't want to give for each for that. Yes? What is lambda expression?
Yes.
I mean,
Lambda is a keyword in Python. Basically the same thing.
in JavaScript?
It's actually common.
Lambda isn't a JavaScript. It's a Python.
Okay.
It's actually common between a lot of programming languages, so I have it.
Direct from
Yeah, I don't know what the calculus is. Yeah. Sorry. So, okay, all that is a function. But it's just a function defined within the scripts that helps you map values into another function. That's probably what lambda function is. I don't know. Is the lambda function a function?
It's just a defined function.
Okay. Anyways, so is everyone clear on this thing? Don't worry about lambda functions. Clear on this thing? Good? Okay. It's a lambda function. I learned something. Okay. Is it an expression? Okay. It's an expression to help with functions. So I know you will need a lot of practice to get to like, oh, I'm going to write these 6 lines of code and it's going to do everything for me. Right? That's why we practice a lot of stuff that we learn here. At this point, I think I'll give you guys 10-minute break. We'll learn a lot of concept and then come back, do some practice, and we'll go from there. Okay? Come back at 8:15. Okay. Yeah, of course. Right now? Yeah.
Maybe Nolan and.
No, I can send the code. Yeah. It's easy.
There's one more scary one and one like
Somebody, like, these three of them?
yeah. So whatever you guys want to do.
Okay. So investigation?
Yeah.
I know.
All the shit is going on at once. There's no help.
The last project was over and I'm just kind of.
What project? Oh, this
Yeah, so
Yeah, we need
it's
to.
coming in 2 weeks. Everyone's like joining up.
What?
Still shut up about that, like, yeah, exactly. They're trying to like put all these things together so that you can prove that, hey, well, yeah, exactly. Yes, it's fun. Everyone's like looking at the advertising. Everyone's like doing all kinds of projects, like tomorrow I'm gonna do a presentation, so yeah, yes. They just have so much in Bangalore, so. I gotta talk to one of the guys who got let go, you know, from my team. And so they gotta, you know, some compensation. So everyone's like really. That's when you see me working on this. I was thinking this my guys in Bangalore. I lost my phone. Everyone's like trying to scramble. That's the thing. We can say, hey, you can get everything. So I was like, yeah, it's just the
Yeah, let's check. So this will be like support partner. Whatever you can do.
I don't know.
I do more. The end of it is like a
I was looking at some jobs.
But it was looking at.
That's
solidify that plan. By
it's too expensive to buy a home.
oh no,
I can just get this job.
we're having guests come. So
Yeah.
this Saturday.
Why are we looking at
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday?
For sure.
Look at data.
So you check your
Yeah. This also don't get the dates too. So the second
February 2nd. February 2nd.
Yeah, it's taking math and trying to
grab a
answer
copy of
the
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
It's pretty much SQL. SQL stuff. SQL, SQL, Python, pretty much everything that we've learned.
I'm sure. Does he know?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why.
I will.
I had some money saved up here. So we got to get a house. Just I can get other Something personal over there, and then rent it out.
Yeah.
Let's start with profit.
What industry?
It's not like
They can go anywhere they want.
Yeah, but we can.
It's too expensive. Oh, that's the same prices.
Yeah, and then they can.
They probably have a huge mansion there somewhere. Yeah. Because the houses there, I was looking at it, brand new, they're like 200. That's crazy, right? 200 here is a shack, a one bedroom condo, not even a condo. You know? It's crazy. Right now, everything's in the area doesn't work. It would feel better once someone like so he was just here last month. Virginia. He said it was grassy there. I mean, it's just trees. There's nothing there. Virginia? Nobody's Austin. That would also mean like when not only the price was like but it's also like oh the Bay Area.
Actually,
Yeah. You don't want to mistake because you know where your kids are living. After, after they're grown.
So now they're like retired.
Yeah, I've only been used to years for
but then, yeah, for you. You have
you're not going to need a lot of money. Yeah. It's just too expensive. All my money would go to the house. And I don't have anything else. Oh, you? Yeah, I know, right?
although they have some.
And then maybe something happens. Just a little figure. But it just was like, no, I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna go up.
Yeah, actually, that's one of our clients. Yeah, no, they have a new.
Okay, guys, let's get back to it. Okay. So we looked at that. Now let's go ahead and look at event listeners. So event listeners, as the name suggests, is going to listen for an event, right? What does that mean? Like when you listen for an event, you do take some kind of action. So this is where the interactivity piece comes in from JavaScript's perspective, right? And so D3 helps you do it much faster, better, right? You don't have to write a lot of stuff. So in D3, using D3, we're going to look at how can we write event listeners and what would that mean, okay? So let's say I had a web page that looks like this. Click me, click me, click me. It's not doing anything, okay? And I wanted to do some kind of action with this click me function, which is what we're going to look at right now. Okay. So what I want to do is, as I click this button, it should say a button was clicked. It won't say on the web page, but it will say in the console log, right? So console log will meaning in the console piece, it will say button was clicked. And how I can do that. So anyways, first you need to find where the button is, right? And it's an ID field, right? So in the index.html, let's see where the button is. And so button is at click me, and the ID is click me. So I'm going to do select this thing, click me. Okay, so that's my button. That's what my button is referenced into. Everyone clear on that? You found where the button is. Good. Then you want to get to the reference to the input field, and the input field is right there as well. The input field is right there. It's also an ID, so hashtag input field will give you that access to the input field. Now, in certain versions of D3, I don't know if you have to do hashtag and dots because it's kind of smart enough to figure out without having to give that hashtag and a dot. Hashtag is like for the ID, but you don't have to do it. I've seen that it works without it. And then now you're going to define a function, right? So the function that I'm defining called handle click is nothing but I want to print the a button was clicked, but I haven't had an event associated with a. So what I mean is, I'm just gonna define the function right now. This is my function. Hey, if I call this function with any associated action, do two things. One, print a button was clicked, and then associate this with the object that dispatched the event. Okay, so d3.event.target, and we'll see what that does. Now I want to use this function on this button. So I have this variable button, which is nothing but referencing to the button on the HTML page. And what I'm going to say is this when we have a click, okay, and this dot on is to attach an event. So the dot on is going to attach an event to this button. And when the click happens, I call the function handle click. Okay, that means when a click happens, I'm going to basically print a button was clicked, and I'm going to see how that gets done. Now you can also do this inline, which is inline. This whole thing can be defined in line. You don't have to define a separate function and then do all of this. You can also do this in line, and then you can print how the button was clicked and associate a new one, whichever way you like. But you have to do button on is a way to associate an event with that function, and then that's it. So, yeah. So now let's see how this works. So if I go here and I go here, this one, this browser. Yeah. I don't see anything happening here, but if I go and inspect the code, since I click it once, the console should say, hi, a button was clicked. So now you see how it didn't print A button was clicked. It printed hi, comma, A button was clicked. Now, why did it do that? Like if you see the code, I have the function written in two different ways, right? I have the function written handle click, the button was clicked. Now I have hi, A button was clicked. Why did it print hi, comma, A button was clicked and not A button was clicked? Who can answer that?
Maybe that's the latest one.
Maybe that's the latest one, and that's actually accurate. So your program will only refer to the latest one on what needs to be done. So if you define a bunch of stuff up here, and then somebody comes and adds their code down here, it's going to compile from top to bottom, and it's going to do the action that's the latest defined action. So programmers run into this issue a lot. When you're debugging and multiple people are working on a code, let's say your team member defined something up here, somebody went in and defined something down there, it's probably going to do the next function. And you keep wondering, oh, why is this doing this? Because I defined it the other way. So you have to like kind of backtrace and see, oh, maybe this is. So now it's printing hi, A button was clicked. And then that's kind of the, if I comment this code, rerun everything, it will just put print. Okay. So if I do it again, it will say it again. If I do it again, it will say it again. If I do it again, every time I click the button, it will keep giving me hi button was clicked. Yeah. Okay, let's build some more concepts and then we'll go to an example where we'll use all these concepts so that way you guys, so that's that. Okay, and so what does this do? Okay, so let's see. This example here is, so right now, this is unsolved. Okay. So here is the changing something as we go. So let's look at this first. We have a, okay, I'm being asked to input some text, and then what I'm going to do is you can read all of this. Select the input field. This should call handle change. Finally, complete the handle change. Select text from the input field and reverse the string. Okay, so if you give it a word, this is asking you to reverse the word, or whatever you type in this input string, it's asking you to do a reverse of it. The only way, if you can't do this right, is then you will have to give this input text a palindrome. So, so if it doesn't work, it'll still look at it, right? But other than palindrome words, it should reverse it, right? So how would you do it? Before we go in, I want some ideas. See, this is what your interview will look like, right? If you're going for an interview, I'm not going to ask you to sit. I mean, some companies will, but they want to test you on a lot of stuff. Probably ask you, like, how would you do this? Like, how would you reverse a word? Like, I'm not expecting answer right away, but some ideas. Give me some ideas. From what you have learned, what could you do to reverse a string?
Divide element in that string object in the list.
Okay.
And then you can
Okay, that's a good way of thinking about it. What?
What do you think? That's the split.
Yes, absolutely. Bingo. You got the answer. Yeah. Yeah, you get a split function. You split everything. That's absolutely correct. So if you have been, we learned split function before. So you can use the split function, exactly what Safwan was saying, and then we can reverse it. Now it just comes to like, so if you Google how can I use split to reverse a string in JavaScript, boom, you will get the answer. It will be that easy. But let's see how can it be built from scratch. So here, you have the input, so you will have to select the text, whatever text you have, and that text you are given this code. The text is coming from this input text, but it's coming really from this ID text, right? So you will go and get that text from here. Okay, so you're going to get the text from here, and output is d3.select class output, which is defined here, and it's defined in that. I mean, I'm not going to go over how HTMLs are defined anymore, but its output is define after the box, and you should see the output in the box at the bottom of the box as a header. That means in a big font. Okay, that's what this is saying. And everyone should understand now. So exactly what the SOC one and Marcus did. You will have to reverse string. Reverse string is just a function name I'm using. Any string that you get, split the string, okay, using the split function. So return string split, and D3 gives you a nice function. It gives you dot reverse to reverse the string. How would you know this? If you looked at the cheat sheet, maybe it's in the cheat sheet. If it's not on the cheat sheet, it's on some other cheat sheet. But let's see if you have the reverse on this cheat sheet here. If you had this cheat sheet, transition, access, interactivity. This is the on thing that we just saw earlier. No, it doesn't exist on this cheat sheet. But this is a very small subset of things that you can do in D3. Much bigger lists will have reverse. So basically, you're able to reverse it by just saying reverse, and then join. Why join? Why join? We split it. Now we want to join it. Exactly, it will join all the exactly split things. So that, and then function to handle input change. So handle change. Now this is just a function to define that change. Now on that change, you need to handle change. So to go here and look at this code, this doesn't do anything for splitting or reversing, but your now app.js file has that function called handle change, an event function that gets triggered on the input text. This is just something that you will have to put in your code to make it work when you call on. Okay, so on change, handle change. Okay, and this change in what just we learned. Yeah, that's like a save term. That's like a telling you what to do term on the event handling, right? So let's see, I think I gave you a tiny cheat sheet, but here if you go to D3, D3's documentation, it will document everything that you can do. But that's a saved word, as you said, like mouse over is like a saved word. You just have to learn these words, right? And so that, and then handle change, it will do it. Let's look at the example on how what this is actually doing, and then maybe we'll come back to it. How are you? On this one, actually, yeah, make sure for everything else. And I go here to this. Sorry. Is this? So if I said how are you, it will do. It will just reverse it, split, and join keeps the spaces in. So spaces also counted as a character. Okay, just remember that. That's why there are spaces. Okay. Okay. So give me a palindrome word. Where's the palindrome word?
Malayalam.
What?
Malayalam.
Malayalam, I know. Yeah, but other people don't know. Okay. Race car? Yeah, maybe. Race car. Yeah, race car. There you go. So the only way you can trick the interviewer is by giving. I wrote the function. Maybe it's the function. So, yeah, that's a good one. I didn't know that. So, race car is a good one. Okay. So yeah, we're going to start having fun with D3 a little bit, but this is how powerful it is. You don't have to do a lot of coding. That's it. Okay. Because reverse string, if you went with JavaScript, you will have to cache in the. You can still use split, but just adds a lot of work, of course. Everyone's with me? It's. I know it's probably not easy to figure it out, but let's see, what's the next thing I want you guys to think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna skip this for now because this is okay. Well, I'll walk you through it. There's a lot of things happening here, right? So if I do upward, it's going to increment. This is a counter, and then if I downward. So this is like an example where you can have people. This looks cool, right? It's just like it's amazing. More of that happen. So how about this? Why don't you guys take 10 minutes and I'll Slack this code. Actually, let's get back to it. I want to make sure that we cover the other concept. This is cool, but it's not a bootstrap. Jumbotron, we know Jumbotron. We know this says a black background, and you're using a lot of CSS for bringing those beautiful white things and moving things, all this stuff. There is no way you're gonna be able to code this within 20 minutes. No, this style.css will be given. These are the white things that you see move up and down. Like these things. And it's a pretty cool code. You guys should look at it, but let's go through the conceptual things first. We'll get back to this. Okay. As a homework, you can figure out how.
Add all of those just to get the little stars to move upwards.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, there's probably a code available somewhere. Okay. So, not to distract the class, let's keep moving first. There's a lot to do, and so. Okay. Yeah, concept of this. Okay. And so let's say, okay. This is browser. Let's say you had I'm gonna do what we need to do first. And so let's say you had this list of things and you wanted you know how you click a link on a web page and then it turns red, right? And then it stays red, stuff like that. So here I'm going to show that, right? So if I click this item, see how when I click the item, it turns blue, right? It turned blue. And if I click here, it's of course going to show it in the console. If I click things, it will say, yeah, it was clicked. Well, this one was clicked. Click me was clicked. Click me 2 was clicked, and so on. Right? And then when I click the items, and the number of times I click the item, you see that if I click them serially, how the number goes up next to the item. Same thing, right? So if I want to do all these things, there's a concept of this, and we'll see what is that concept of this. Okay. It's like arrow things and arrow functions and map functions. But what is this? And so first of all, button, on click, function, and click keyword, right? And you have the function, and you say console.log, and then you say this. Okay. So log has these many parameters, and if you say this, it will actually log the button element. And what that means is it will actually send to your console that button was clicked, the button was clicked. So how you do this, and if you say list, you say D3, select this, then you don't have to do it for every single item. You don't have to do it for every single button. Now, when you use this, it will know which parameter, what was clicked, that was triggering that event, okay? So how to use this is you have these multiple buttons in here, and so for each button you have click me and then click me too. What you want to do is this will, up till now we were like defining what was clicked and then passing it back to the console. But you can't keep doing that, right? You don't want to keep writing a lengthy JavaScript. Hey, if button to, select button text, and then button to, if you see button, they do this. So here we don't have to do it. We can just use this select all. So any button on your whole code, when that's clicked, then you want, because your web page, classic web page, will have 100 buttons, let's say, or 100 list items that you want to turn red or green or yellow, or depending on what the user was clicking. This goes to the concept. I'm trying to take you a little, and this is very rudimentary and basic, but the web analytics started here, right? So when your user comes on your website and you start clicking things, you're actually sending back the messages to the server saying, hey, XYZ ID came in and then started clicking this. And so you know how your web page is being rendered. So in the early days when web analytics was being developed, they were using things like that. So if you use Adobe's web analytics, which is Omniture back in the days, and they used to have this code. So if you see Google Analytics, if anyone has used Google Analytics, you just add a little snippet on your website, and that's nothing but the big code that Google maintains, just like how you add the Bootstrap code on your thing. So it's referencing that, and then when you hover over things or click on things on your website, it's actually telling Google where it's sending these things, right? So I hope that was making some sense, but this is a very powerful thing. This is a very powerful thing. And so you list, you have buttons, and as you click around, it will know if, but you have to use select all, because now you're going to do that for any list on live stuff on your web page. What it does is basically changes the color, like in here, select this and then style it to red. And then console log list item text. So you're getting the text of the list item, which is item 1, item 2, item 3, and so on and so forth. And how you get that? By list item. This item is whatever is being selected. Is this making sense? Anyone still trying to figure out how this works? No? Yes? Neutral? Come on, tell me. I can go a little slow.
The last part of our list.
Okay, so let's walk you through with this. Okay, and that's so this part is okay, right? Select all lists. So wherever in your index.html you have li, select all of them, just conceptually, okay? Not like go and select everything. But when you do an event on that, a click event on that list item, okay? When you do a click event, when you go and click that, any of the list items, the program is telling, do me a favor. First of all, cache that as a variable list item and select this. This is now the pseudo synonym to that item's description. So let's say if I go on item 1 and I click on that one, this list item variable will get what value? Item 1. Okay. It will, if you go look at here, if I go here and click on this, just now I passed the value list, or the variable list item got the value item 1. Okay. And remember that item 1 is the value of this now. It told me to, okay, then if that list item is item 1, it's saying item 1.style, make it blue. That's what it did. When I clicked it, it made it blue. Okay. So that's the second thing it did. It's saying, get me, let me define a variable item text, which is list item.text. List item.text is nothing but what? Item 1. That's the text of that particular list. Okay, item 1. It's saying console.log list item text. So print list item text. Item 1, right? So it went ahead and printed item 1 here. Now is everyone clear what this is doing? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Click me, same thing. Click me becomes the button. Depending on which button I click, I get click me button was clicked, right? But that button is the same thing it's doing. It's going and saying when you click a button, there are only two buttons in here. Console.log this, and this is meaning whatever the button that was clicked. Okay, print that text. Now you don't have to do this text thing. Okay, if I just did console.log this, it should work as well. Okay, it should, if I just forget this, you don't have to do this. Actually, we can just do console this, and it should work. Oh, because now I'm changing it. You see how why we had to do it? Because if I change it, then I have changed the text of that list. It's bringing me all of it, right? It's not just bringing me item 2 as the list. When I click here, but now becomes interesting. Yeah, it brings me everything within that. And once it turns blue, it becomes that dynamically, not actually in the code, but dynamically, and brings me everything. And that's what we want to get, just the text and print the text. But it's pretty much operating the same way. Okay. Make sense? Like, did I just confuse everyone with that piece? Let me just try something. I think I should be able to do text. What are the questions? Come on. It seems some people are still kind of grasp. You do need, if you just need the text of the list item, because what it does, it dynamically changes this HTML code. Any questions? No questions? Okay. Okay. In that case, let's look at this forms thing, okay? And what do we mean by that? How do we create forms for? So often you will see on the website, you will have something like this. And if you submit, it should say, well, this data is blah, blah, blah. Like if you see, especially government websites where you go pay a water bill, and they will look like this, like you'll fill in all the things, and once you make the payment, we'll submit payment, or we'll do some action, and then come back with, hey, you submitted with this credit card March 1st, 16. I mean, at least when I pay, yeah. So how do you do these simple forms and start printing things? And this will be useful, or we'll see how this can be useful. But what makes you do this, right? So what we are doing is conceptually, we have learned all the pieces of this. What were the pieces of this, Krishna? What did we learn that helps you get data, like input text kind of stuff, right? We learned that. We learned click on a button, print something, but right now we were just printing the value of the button into this. So now we're going to kind of merge a lot of ideas and see how we can do all of this together. And that's how simple the code looks because of D3. Okay? If D3 wasn't here, and if I were to teach you and let you go through the pain of HTML and CSS and how we went before we went to Bootstrap, it will be a long 2-3 weeks of things to learn all these things, but you don't have to. Fortunately, D3 is well maintained and nicely documented. So here, what we're going to start with is variable called submit, and that's why, because I mean, you don't have to name it submit, but if you look here, the submit is the button, right? So here you're using Bootstrap to make it look pretty. You know how to make it. Like if you're not adding this JS file, right? If you're not adding this JS file at all, then you can make this beautiful web page, but it won't do anything, right? Or you just have a submit button, you'll keep clicking it, it doesn't do anything. Now, since you added it, you know that the ID is submit, so you will cache that one in by select ID submit, ID is hashtag. Submit.onClick function. This is definition of an event triggering stuff. Prevent default. Prevent default is used so the page don't refresh. Like what I mean by that, it doesn't, like when you hit submit, it doesn't like refresh and bring it back. It just does it instantly. It's if I comment this thing, let's see what I mean. If I comment that, Control S, this in the browser, and if I say hello, okay. See how it refreshed, and then it took my field away. Like it prints it, but then it refreshes it and reloads it, right? So prevent what was the keyword? Prevent default. Prevent default will avoid it from refreshing. It will stop. Otherwise, it will execute the code. Yeah, okay. So that's the way to like show you the value. Okay, so prevent default does that. Select the input that you have. So example form input. So you're going to select the example form input where people put their input, right? And this is a bootstrap code. It should be easy for you guys to manipulate that, or at least that's possible. You get the input, you get the value, dot property. So if anything comes in that example form input, that is what I was printing, hello. That hello is getting captured in the value of it, and then console log input value and show it as a header. So what happens is after form data, it shows it as a header span, and header span is right here after the header, and then in the span, this here, it shows that value. Okay. So let's look at it once again, and then we'll come back to the code because you will have to do this. So I say hello. And then submit. Oh, because I can save it. Let's go here and open it, and then say hello. Let's look at the inspect console, and it printed hello because here in this code we have app.js, we're doing console.log input value. So we know that the value is this value coming in from the input form, right? So input example form input, the ID input, it's coming from here, type text, okay? And then it basically caches that value and prints it. On here, we are not adding anything really, so we won't see any changes. Is that making sense? Is this program like kind of giving you an idea of how to create a form? Yeah, go ahead.
Going back to
Yeah.
the default pieces, yeah. So I'm confused on why is it defaulted to refresh?
Why? Because it compiles once it compiles the code, it's not going to keep that form. I mean, it's not going to stop it from reloading the page. It keeps, so any page that you see, you try to reload it unless you have that particular event. Like once anything happens, stop, don't reload it. Yeah. Because the link to this page, right? Like if it was a browser or anything, the HTML, the code is not storing this value anywhere. It's going to compile it again, basically. So prevent default is a very useful thing. It's just something that you know, like prevent prevent default. Something you do. Any other questions? Why we're doing this? Like, is it making sense? Like slowly we're building these concepts and kind of trying to merge those. Yeah. Okay.
But normally the text would go away because so you can input another one.
Yeah. I mean, you can do this. You can still do it. Like if I don't have to keep it there. How are you? Make rule change. whatever I submit, it will change. But in the console, the good thing that is happening. So, for example, if I built a web page, right, and I want to log all these values, right, I can have people like, hey, enter your age, data, blah, blah, blah. Take all that input and submit. When it submits, I can cache it and put it in my MongoDB. Or like somewhere, right? That's where we want to go. Like we're going to start collecting input. I was telling Lauren earlier that if I have to, like, this is how, like, in an organization, if I want to get a lot of people to give me some kind of data, typically people give you Excel sheets, and then you have to, like, this one person gives you Excel sheets here, the other person gives you, and then you have to pull that and put it together. I don't like to do that. So what I'll do is I'll create a small web portal for them within the organization, for the organization use, have a simple form. Hey, for example, for my contracts department, I'll create something like this, and then I'll ask them to, hey, give me how many contracts you opened this month, what was the open date, what was the close date of the contract, and what was the average bidder's price, and how much did, give me 3 bids that came in, and which bid you selected, right? Now I'm getting, like, so for, let's say my CFO comes and asks me, hey, tell me how my contract department is doing. On an average, how long the contract is open. Right? So I can build a small thing where I can get all the inputs from my 20 contract admins that I have in my company. And they will say, okay, well, this date I open it, this day I close it. So once I get all that data, then I can calculate the difference on an average, how long the contract is open. That gives me my cycle time for the contract, right? I want to minimize that. I want to see when the 3 bids come in, how are the contracts admin selecting the bids? Or there could be 10 other criteria. So I can give this to them and then get all that input. So they don't have to maintain it in Excel. But every time they do it, and I can show them in that table also and help them delete records and stuff like that. And they submit it. I have it in my MongoDB or anything I want, SQL, if I want SQL, MySQL or SQL Server, and then I can do this. In Chris's world, HR applications, I mean, I think now Workday probably does it, or the big tools, but back in the days, you didn't have anything. So you would have people apply online and submit all this information. So you have all the candidate information, the ethnicity, blah, blah, blah. And then you have it, then you parse that data, you get the data into using these web applications. So this is what all the Workday and people are doing. They're going back and they're paying a lot of people to develop something like this, package it, code it, so you deploy it on the server. But it's all this code, like this JavaScript code, and then that's why your stuff looks the same. The only things you can change is, oh, your company logo, your company name, and then it starts looking fancy because you're changing the image file location, and then you put that image file there, and boom, that's it. So for simple applications within a company, rather than using either SharePoint or Excel, like a lot of people use SharePoint. SharePoint can give you similar functionality.
It's kind of like the survey that we do every week.
What the survey? Yeah. And then you can get all the survey questions, and then boom, that's it. But like people have stopped using all these things because you have SurveyMonkey now, right? And SurveyMonkey lets you do that, gives you a nice output. You can take that and put it in the data set. But earlier, like even like 7-8 years ago, we didn't have that. So people will use this internally as well as externally. It's a good way of doing it. Like you can do employee engagement surveys in HR, like create a small app that you can deploy rather than having to buy a, I don't know, per user, $7 per user per month kind of employee engagement software. For 1,000 employees costs $7,000. But you can do this simple thing if you want in a small company. Actually, in a big company, the economics make sense more than a small company. So if you go to Facebook and Google, they don't go and buy these fancy software. They have engineers who just develop this in a week or two, and then that's it. Boom. You don't have to have survey stuff for hundreds and thousands of people. They don't want to put their data on SurveyMonkey for some reason. They don't have to use it. So you'll see a lot of companies develop these things. Anyways, that's too much, but just basic. That's how we're going to get to that next concepts. And your next projects, you will have to start thinking of ideas what can I collect from users and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, so the last one. Let me check here, is Okay, so here actually we're going to do exactly kind of similar to what I said. We're going to get, let's say if I enter my blood type as A positive, going to give me mean, median, mode, and variance and standard deviation calculations on A positive blood type on this data. So we have data of many users, right? So this is a classic JSON, right? Kind of style. You have all the value, key value pairs of like names of people and their blood types and their age. Okay. So what this is helping you do is it's going to go parse, as I was saying, like, you can have lots of data types and you can see what the average age, what's the median age, what's the standard deviation of age in the given data set of these blood types. So that's what it's doing. This is again, we have this JavaScript that JS and sorry, Bootstrap code that makes this web page look pretty. So if you had the unsolved one and if it didn't do anything, then and if you opened it, undo anything, okay, positive shouldn't do anything. Do anything. This is just a an HTML page. See, it doesn't even. Not only it doesn't do anything, it's not even refreshing and coming back to it. So it doesn't do anything. This is just a page code. If you look at it, you have the Bootstrap CDN here. You have the .js D3 here, but it's not really. And then math, right? So for math functions, you have another JavaScript basically. And so go through here. That's all. This is just the HTML file, but the real fun is coming from the data file that has all this information. So how would you modify this? So you'll have to write an app.js code, right, to the JavaScript code to do this. So let's look at it, how you do it. So, okay, so first you will have to start with, even actually before that, I don't think we have talked about these functions here. So I'll probably have to walk you through what that means. So for simplicity of things, you will name, let's say, data as people. Okay, you don't have to do it. You can name it data itself, and you can go from there. But the submit, and then you're defining all these variables, which means you can use them later with the needs. Again, you don't have to do it, but defining submit is key. Submit is coming from the submit ID, which is the button. Button has an ID called submit, and that is type submit, and the button default. This is a Bootstrap thing, and the text that you show on the button is submit. Okay. So you see the text is.
So the button is a bootstrap component?
It's Bootstrap component.
Okay, so
Yes.
I was looking at HTML, I couldn't find it.
No, button is a Bootstrap component. I mean, you can have a Jumbotron, you can make it look fancy, you can do column MD6 versus column MD12. So this is a much tighter input box. I mean, all that stuff, we already did it. So I don't have to explain that to you guys now. But that's that. And then back here. So when you do submit on click, trigger function, prevent defaults from loading it again. So it doesn't go blank out your input and all that stuff. Input elements. So now you have patient form input. So you're just getting that blood type. Okay, this is where you're getting the blood type. And in here, you're getting the value of the blood type, show the value of the blood type, and look at the people that have that blood type. Okay, so let's run this again, and I'll show you what exactly that before we move forward. So if I go A positive, right, and then say, okay, submit, see what all it does first. Source, sorry, inspect, check this console. So, okay, so what it did A positive. It's going to bring list of people that have A positive blood type, okay? This. Oh, no, it's first going to bring all the people people, and then it's going to filter those people. So all these people, the 100 people that we have, is bringing all the value of that because we have printed that, and then it's going to bring only the A positive people from there. Right? For that, you'll use arrow function to get that. And so if you look here, you will do people filter from person. Person dot blood type equal to we learned that input value. So input value is nothing but what I gave the program. I said input value is from this input element property, which is patient form input. Patient form input is that empty text box. So I filled in whatever the patient blood type that I'm interested in looking at. It got assigned to this input value. We saw that that gets printed. And then before we go forward, we also, so that got printed A plus. And then we also printed all of the people values. So all these people values we printed. So all the 100 data elements that I had, I printed that. And now filter it in such a way where the blood type matches the input value. Okay. Console.filter data. So this is now, I'm going to print the filtered data, which is these 13 people. Okay, printed that. But the fun starts when you can use math.js, which is this other JavaScript thing that we did here, math.js. Okay. So that's another JavaScript library. I told you that there are thousands, I mean, at least 1,000 JavaScript libraries. This one is another one that will help you do things like mean, median, all that stuff that you also learned in. So math.js will let you do mean of ages, median of ages, mode of ages, variance of ages, and standard deviation of ages. Okay. And then D3 can just append to the summary, select.summary, the class summary, which you have at the end. So if you look at here, the class summary gets appended with all the different values of that and a filtered data summary, which is this guy here, filtered data summary. This is the header, and this is a summary. And if you look at this, when you did that and you ran the script, it should be under summary. So I'm going to go look in class summary, have a list of these 5 things. Okay, so mean, median, then I have mode, and then variance, and then standard deviation as my last list item. Okay, so I have 5 list items that got inserted by this code, appended, not, I mean, the same thing, inserted, appended by this code right here. D3 select summary. So I'm going to add in summary, first list item, X should be mean, and then $mean, which is basically whatever I calculated the variable. Okay. Is this making sense? Okay. So this is new. There is, just want to make sure that you guys are comfortable with what's going on. Okay.
So there you have a keyword like mode is variable, you are defining mode as a variable and everything.
Mode is a function within math.js library. It's not a keyword. You have added a math.js math library here from Cloudflare. So if you look at this, let's go here. Look at this. This is a math.js library, and all the functions, mean, mode, you don't have to do the calculation because it's going to do it for you. Now, if I was Sydney, I'll go and debug this and figure out how that's written. Right, Sydney?
Yeah.
Just go and find out what all this is doing.
So there is a keyword mode.
So in here, you should have like mean, let's see, mean. So, I mean, I've never debugged these libraries. somewhere there this mean function will be defined, and like it will take all the values and do all the things for you, or you don't have to spend time trying to figure it out. Unless you want to be a contributor. I mean, you actually can be a contributor to some of these libraries because they're on the GitHub, right? There are good people in this world that have time to go contribute to this stuff and make others' life easier. So.
My question is, how the program is interpreted when the mode is function, and then we are defining as a variable also.
Where is a mode variable? Oh, here? Yeah, I mean, it doesn't conflict because here I'm specifying which mode I'm saying. I'm talking about a mode function within the math.js library. Like, so if, for example, if I didn't have this, then it will give me a compiler error. Okay. It's actually a little too smart sometimes. If I even do it, it kind of figures it out. It knows that there is a mode in math function. So I understand your question. You're saying, well, isn't it like, it's not like SQL where you can't name a column select. If you name a column select, it's going to confuse the SQL by saying select, and select is a keyword in SQL. But here, you can name things the same way. And so another thing is, like, you will see when you start coding, it will give you all these things that you can do on from the library and stuff. Like, it just refers to the page and renders it. So yeah, mode. So you can do. You can look at this and say, okay, well, I want to use mode. Okay, mode, sure. Then you would say this, and then okay, what should I use? So if you start typing AG, it knows that you are going to use this local variable. Local variable is a variable that's defined within the function. This or some other editors will give you all of those functionalities. So when you're actually typing it, it's much easier, and you can pretty much tab and keep going faster than you would imagine. To be honest, there are AI engines that are being written to even automate things like this, right? So I don't know, maybe in 5 years you won't be coding this. And there are also software development tools that help you code faster with this in a graphical user interface way. Those are nothing but a GUI-based thing that you're dragging and dropping, but behind the scenes, it's actually creating script kind of stuff. I know a lot of tools are written this way. A lot of people get together and create a tool. So that's what I was talking about earlier. Workday is a famous HR employee management tool that people probably have written something like this. So when Marcus goes and works into his new job and we get groceries delivered, Marcus is his team behind the scene is actually doing all these things. When you go to their website, put things in the cart, it does such an action, and when you hit checkout, it opens up, it renders to a new page and all that stuff, and we'll look at all of that hopefully. But that's called full stack development, right? So people, if you go and join the full stack course within boot camps here, it will teach you doing all of the e-commerce stuff and all the cool stuff that we're just looking at it. So when those people on your team do this, you just have to, we're focusing it, like I teach you the basic and I quickly take you to how would you manipulate that data. So your job in Marcus's new company would be, once you have all these orders placed, what were the orders placed for today, and then how much was our average checkout tag, like was it $100 and how can we increase it, and all that stuff, and calculations of that, and mode and medians of the customers that were placing these orders, all of that. So they can go tell their marketing, hey, most of our people are between 25 and 35, so let's start campaigns around that. How do we attract people of that age to order more? Or is that really good? I mean, who's eating organic food? That's the whole premise of it. There you go. Right. So that's what you do. This is how it starts. So okay. I hope this was useful. I think we can spend 10 minutes for you guys to work with your partner and look at that Star Wars code. Let's see that. That's a pretty cool code, actually. And then maybe we'll discuss some learnings from that code. And it will kind of, so it was, what was it? So don't change. No, not on this one. That's Star Wars code go. 6. Okay. Yeah, why don't you guys, you have to do this. So why don't you actually do it? And I'll post the code answer in a few. I just want to take the fear away from just fancy CSS stuff and what's going on. Okay, so why don't you go ahead, work with the partner, and try and attempt it and see where we end. So go read the README, what you need to do. Okay. I'll post the code. So that should another 15 minutes or so, and then we'll end the class. About 10 minutes maybe.
Are you?
No, mine's about the same. I see it. I'm going there next time. But I have to figure out, I don't know if
They'll tell you just go have it. Like a lot of small clients that needs to manage.
What's your next project then, by the way?
All these giveaways, that's very standardized. Yeah, you can do this.
No, I was thinking of, what's that one code with what they call it? Matrix. Remember the Matrix?
You know, actually, I will use.
Remember there was a green, I don't know?
You're right. Yeah. Okay, one partner with the, I know, yeah. That will also start by this. Yeah, the other night my friend from Amazon still like
It's already done.
That part is super powerful.
This code will
Yeah,
be,
like,
all this is saying is just that this one or the text or the class.
You don't have to
Take the map, then take a bare minimum. You take a random
make it
So on this one, it's because nothing is going to drink.
I was actually, yeah, I must have we watched the YouTube video. That's all that. Yeah, so that one is
This one is not always right. Just every time this.
No, I mean, just the past one is actually green in the back. See, I don't know, you know, you guys know, because that's like, we need some kind of keep taking that hard size. Might be a good thing for us, size, you know? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to do the filter now. You went over that.
So that's why,
Rather than I'm trying to filter every time.
Shit, we have nothing to do. You can do this up this.
The day is over. I stepped out.
I'm just so tired.
Like 5 minutes.
Yes.
But you know what, remember
Yeah.
on our project, what we need to learn is the calendar.
Right now.
Remember that the project we were talking about the trip planners? The input would be the dates. Yeah, but at least we're moving towards that, you know?
so,
Yeah. Yeah. Like, damn. But then I showed you that one website, right? Yeah, no, that's why I have to go back this whole week and just relearn it because everything is so very. Yeah, actually, it's not, no, but I want to be able to have at least some person. Yeah.
Oh, that's a.
Whatever you want to do, huh?
Actually, what I did first.
I mean, big standards.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But at least the concept is there. You know, the idea is there. It's just a matter of putting it all together. You already got the basis of it. We did, right? Now we're moving into the input part. Remember you did the input part? Huh? Remember, how is this? What is my favorite thing? Yeah, I was thinking, why? Because once we move into upload it, I would think that like we should time it to smart. That's what we needed.
Maybe I guess this is showing something for your data.
You see, in the corporate mode.
What happens if you have?
Yeah, but I understand.
It's the
Yes, exactly.
No, I know. As a matter of fact, our developer guys, they actually make the tools to automate everything. That I understand. So I would think that data scientists, they would just do the scraping, just like what we did. We scraped it, they cleaned it, then they put it on visualization. That's what I thought. The main job of that. No. All the data being scraped, not the data being like what we do in SQL.
yes, because I have.
What's your, no, what is your like goal? What are you trying to? I know you don't know. I know he does programming, but which?
Yes.
Yeah.
Security makes a lot of sense. Yes. Yes. You know what? You can get networking classes for free. UCSD. Yeah. And I know. And
This is right here.
oh yeah. Mhm. Yeah. I was. Here it is.
Yeah.
It's free class. Mhm.
And so the only thing that
I went to the class. Yeah. Just the CNA class. You can take it to supplements. It's brand. The North. I think they want to SCD. SDCCD. I took your class, but what happened with this one is that my I don't know. It's actually you sit down. It's free. Here, I'll send you. No, not this
There's one thing.
I'm sure it's in the one that I went to is in Aerodrive. Yeah, it's
I'm working on the filter right now.
right here. San Diego Continue Education.
And that's why no, because I don't think so.
So this is the
No, it's better if you do it all because especially for networking, you have to.
class. This is
They have the actual routers and stuff like that.
Okay, this, I'm gonna,
It's good class.
do you guys,
Even if you know.
okay, I'm gonna post this code on Slack and I'll have, Nolan, can you push the Git solutions for everything that we did today? Okay, or just everything. Yeah, send everything. Because otherwise you have
It's CCNA.
we talked about like the
Like 6 months ago.
let's see what else.
I know 6 months.
Right here, it's this one here.